Everyone calls you Uncle Joe. Where did that name come from?
Well, I give everybody, including you, Jonathan. It's the first time we've ever met, but I hope you know that you have my unconditional friendship, no matter what you do. You could be an axe murderer, and I would say, who would need a friend more than an axe murderer, right? So, uh,
Welcome, everyone, to Home Service Hustle. I'm your host, Jonathan Bannister, and today's guest is Joe Crisara. They like to call him Uncle Joe. So if you want to know, let's go. All right, we are in studio today with Joe Crisara. Joe, tell us a little bit about your company, Service MVP, to start with, and then we'll jump into some of my tough questions for today.
sure. Well, Service MVP is a educational website. We teach the science of communication, the science of creating high value, so that service providers can make sure that when they communicate by creating relationships, how to give people choices, how to bring every job to a conclusion, to manage the project. So we teach people the education of how to complete the mission of every call, which is to get the job done.
So, do y'all look at, I guess, the totality of the entire cycle of the customer interaction?
That's a good question. Yeah, it's the customer experience that we focus on, which is experience of differentiating yourself with world-class service. Exactly.
Okay, and then do you feel that there's a part of the customer cycle or journey, if you want to say, that you put more importance on than the other? And I know every step of it's going to be extremely important, but do you feel that one stage is gets more credit or needs more attention or takes a better training or skill or craft to get the job done or to get the job to begin with?
Well, it's really weird. There is the heart of the program, which is investing in the relationship with the customer, right? Now, because the general public is so poor at committing to any relationship with anybody, we're already kind of born to resist what the heart of the program's at. That's why the training is so necessary. Because when I grew up, my grandfather told me how to stand up straight, look people in the eyes, shake their hand, introduce yourself with your first name and your last name, and do something as simple as that. How to introduce yourself. The average person today is so deficient, they just grunt when they get to the front door, for instance. So, somebody who's at that level, the hardest thing I teach is to invest yourself in creating a relationship with every customer. So, giving every customer your unconditional friendship, although it sounds easy, it's one of the hardest things I teach because it works against the grain from what most people have learned as they grew up. Make sense?
Yeah, it makes complete sense. And I'm not going to get you out there in one of these. I think I saw my producer laughing a second ago because I felt like she may have been realizing where I may go with this next topic. Because we just left studio with Tommy Mello, and him and I got off on, we're talking about aliens and everything else under the sun. But you mentioned that, these relationships that you're trying to build and that today's customers that you're engaging with, that they're just coming to the door and they're kind of grunting. I personally feel that's because technology has advanced us to not have these interacting relationships with people, and that's everybody's glued to their phone, and we're texting. We're not even picking up the phone and call people anymore. So, do you feel that I'm kind of hitting on something there? Is that an obstacle that you guys are trying to get over and focusing so much of your training on?
Exactly. Well, here's the thing I can tell you. We can't control what other people are going to do, but we can show leadership on the call that when we interact with people, we can show leadership by completing our sentences and asking the right question that gets people to speak more. So, although you're talking about the customer, the consumer who would grunt, the actual main person who grunts the most is a service provider themselves. They have never been trained on how to conduct a conversation on a very minimal level, which opens up some questions that get people to start realizing that this is the right person to do business with in a way, right? That you emerge through the relationship as the person to do business with in a way. That's the great differentiator. So I would say the service that you give to connect with your client is like the knife that cuts through the fog of uncertainty with consumers. They see it's certain when I see somebody like this is the right guy to do business with. We've all been there before, and everything we bought, whether it's a car, a TV, or something like that, we're like, you know what? I'm just gonna buy a TV today because this is the right guy. He knows what to do. He knows how to get the delivery set up. He's competent because the communication we make is the first level of competence that we show people, and that's kind of like the string that makes them believe that at the end of the call you're going to get the job done right that way too. Does that make sense?
No, it does. So let me ask you, from the owners that you're dealing with, what is one of the hardest obstacles for you to get through the heads of some of these owners of why what you're just talking about right now, the communication and making sure that the technicians and the salespeople are asking the right questions, they're presenting their services in this certain manner. What is the hardest thing for you to explain to the owners why this is so important? Why your training or other companies like yours, why is it so important? Because I feel there's some who get it and some that don't. But for the ones that don't, what would you tell them?
Well, I think that most of the people because of instant gratification that people think they're going to get, they think they're going to drop what we do into water and it's going to do magic, like a magic pill in a way, right?
Right. Yeah.
But you have to respect the law of the harvest. It takes time to learn something. So even learning how to introduce yourself to a client, you would think that anybody could do it. But if you ask the average person, go ahead and tell me how you're going to introduce yourself, they would be like, I guess I'm here to do the heating call, right? My name's Jim. They wouldn't even ask what the customer's name is, right? They wouldn't even think of that. Am I at the right house? Like that's what it would sound like if you didn't train somebody. So the time that is needed to commit to training people, because you can't keep people on track if they never graduated and were trained. So understanding that training, the biggest mistake is that it includes graduation, which most people never. They train people all the time. We have meetings all the time, but we never graduate people to make sure that they receive the lesson and that they know what they're doing. Now, once they graduated, it takes time to coach people. And sometimes owners think it's an annoyance to train people and coach people. But let me just tell you something. As an owner or the sales leader or sales manager or a service manager or general manager, your job is to make sure, number one, everybody has the right to be trained and oriented into the company. And that's the biggest part. Nobody ever stops and orients and trains people like Tommy does. He does a great job with that. You're not going to get a A1 truck, A1 garage door truck until you graduated from his university. Even if you're an experienced garage door tech, he makes you graduate from that university. He makes all of his people graduate from the Uncle Joe Service MVP University. So all of his people have to graduate from my training too. So there's a balance between the technical training that Tommy provides and the communication training, which most owners don't realize. If I don't do the training, I'm going to spend the rest of my life pulling my hair out, being frustrated because it's my fault. I never got the guy trained. So how am I going to coach somebody if they never got trained? Does that make sense?
Yep. 100%. 100%. And if there was some easy way to throw that in a 30-second video message to just give to every home service owner in any space, I think it would do a world of good, because there's just people that are just stuck in their ways, Joe, that I just don't know if they're ever going to fully understand, that the training, it's good for everyone. The customer experience, your internal employees, it's just needs to happen, because if you don't have some consistency there, you're never going to be able to have true success.
Well, you got two choices. Here's my 30-second soundbite. If you're an owner of a company It's training, coaching, and accountability. Accountability is not possible without training and coaching. And if you don't do those three, then be prepared for chaos. That's it.
Oh, perfectly said. So everyone calls you Uncle Joe. Where did that name come from?
Well, I give everybody, including you, Jonathan. It was the first time we ever met, but I hope you know that you have my unconditional friendship, no matter what you do. You could be an axe murderer, and I would say, who would need a friend more than an axe murderer, right? So it doesn't make a difference. I give my unconditional friendship, and I only see the good things about people. I try not to focus on the negative aspects of people. There's a lot of negativity, but I just don't participate in it. So with that kind of help, it's like an uncle. An uncle isn't like your dad who's emotionally involved. He's somebody who's giving you, like, put their arm around your shoulder and say, dude, here's what you got to do so your dad doesn't get mad at you, right? So the uncle is kind of like the dude who, when it's the good uncle, he is not the creepy uncle, right? The good uncle, the good uncle who is putting his arm around you as with a certain amount of detachment, but still part of the family, right? And I
Yeah.
want people to feel like they're part of my family. I feel like I invest my time into people and I invest my friendship into people. But here's the key thing. I don't care if people accept my friendship. I'm just going to give it to you anyway. So if you don't like my friendship, you don't have to have it, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. And by doing that, that's led me to that title. A lot of people just call it somebody just named that on me, and I just kept the name. What does it make sense?
It does. I love it. All right. So you've been in this industry a long time, right? Over 3 decades now?
44 years, 45 years now.
45 years. And so how did it start for you? And then just kind of walk us through the cycle of those 44 years.
Well, I did every job in the business. I was a helper when I first started. Actually, I went to trade school. I was a helper while I was going to trade school. I became an installer. I became a service tech. About 10 years into being a service tech, I started my own service company in 1985. And then I drove it into debt in the first 6 years, about 250,000 in debt. One of my customers told me about the science of communication and the science of pricing. I soon followed that advice. His name was Dave Muller, who he passed away in 2008. He told me what to do. I start taking his lessons and his mentoring. He owned a butcher shop, believe it or not, this dude. And he sold pharmaceuticals as well for a living. And he told me what to do. I did it, and in 2 years, within 1991, I was $250,000 in debt. And by 1994, December, I was out of debt. I was debt free. So the things I teach, I believe, are the most important part of every company, to communicate value by not trying to be the cheapest price, but by trying to provide the best service that differentiates yourself from your competition.
Yep. I know a couple of my clients you do coaching for, and over the last couple of years, they have just been preaching, it's just about value. It's about value. It shouldn't be on price. It should be on value. And I was like, that's old Uncle Joe. That's Uncle Joe, putting that message in there. And I 100% agree. There's a reason, why companies in the same market can charge $15,000 for an install and another person has a $6,500. It's one, and it can consistently sell at that price because they have proven the value of their service, that they're going to be there, they're going to stand behind their product. And I think that when someone is going to make that investment, you mentioned earlier about the whole TV thing. And as you were saying that, I'm a visual person, so I pictured myself being in Best Buy or another store before. And when you meet the right person that can explain to you in a way that they're articulated to where you understand exactly what they're saying, and they're saying the right words to you to make you feel like this investment in this TV is the right one for me to make, whether I was really looking for this TV right now or not. This person was knowledgeable enough and explained it to me in a way that made me feel like I was ready to take it home. And I think, you can do that in any industry. And so I completely understand what you're saying about being able to articulate the value and the product of what you're trying to, push, or the service that you're trying to provide. You want to mention anything there?
Yeah, it's like this. You know how it is tough. Like we could talk about money to our strangers, like Tommy Mello or you and me could talk about money, but when we talk about our family, it's hard to talk about money with your family, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, when you become part of somebody's family, the money part of it fades away, and what emerges is I have a friend who's trying to help me with this. And that's what that feeling that people get is kind of a glow, a halo effect that people get because they realize this guy just cares about my family. And this is an investment in my family, not an investment in this guy's company, but an investment in my own family. So if I'm not going to buy something, I'm going to make my family suffer if I don't buy this, if I don't get this. So that's going to be the trigger because to make that relationship, you're giving somebody something to lose because you're giving them the relationship to lose. If there's no value in that relationship, then there won't. Then you just move on to a different store, But when you find the right person who's competent, who's caring, who's kind, who makes your self-esteem feel good, like, man, I'm glad I came into this store. This guy understands me. Let's get this damn thing done. And you're smiling, and you're. I was just at. I was at a for my wife's birthday. I went to Tiffany's, a jewelry store. Man, I can't believe how pleasant I I bought this thing that cost thousands of dollars. That I look at it like the old me would have been like, man, that ain't worth like $50. But I'm like, well, if it makes my wife, she just put it on. She's like, your wife, how many years have been married? 25 years. I'm going on 20. She goes, oh my goodness, it's her birthday. She's gonna love you when she sees this. When she puts this on, it's exactly right for her. She's exactly what you're looking for. Something understated, silver color, and it's got a key. I bought a key from Tiffany's that goes around her neck. She goes, just tell her this is the key to your relationship in the future, Joe. And I'm like, sold. I'm like, I just bought like $4,000 in a silver key, that only opens the future to my relationship. So she didn't sell me a piece of jewelry.
Yeah.
She told me how to present it to my wife. Does that make sense? And
Oh,
that's worth the $4,000. That was worth the 4,000 for the chain and the key. Make sense?
and I'm sure she walked away at some point to go get the packaging or whatever, and you're probably sitting there going, "There's got to be an Uncle Joe of this industry somewhere," because she didn't just learn that overnight.
Right. I was thinking that I'm like, man, this lady's taking my stuff right out of my playbook. But you know what? It was such a pleasure to do business with that, and I didn't feel like I lost money. I felt like I gained knowledge in a way. I think that's how all customers should feel from whatever business we do, your business, my business. People should feel like I'm smarter. I know how to do things better. I'm a higher quality person now because of this service. And there's an intangible that can't be seen, but we all know it exists when we feel it. Does that make sense, Jonathan?
It does. So everything you've said so far makes complete sense. The one thing that I feel would cause some friction, and I want to know, how do you get past this, is you got the owners of the companies you're working with. They're bought in, right? They see that we've got to get the training, we've got to get the right messaging, we've got to get this customer experience really has to be locked in to where you are putting off the message that you truly care. You're part of the family now of this service company's business. How do you get the employees on board for the culture that is trying to be set within that industry? So Uncle Joe and his staff understand it. You can say, we've done this for 40 something years. It completely changed my business. You know it works, all right? You've proven it, probably hundreds of times with other companies. But when you take an employee that doesn't have those same values, and I know this firsthand because I've seen technicians, I've been on ride-alongs before, and I've seen a technician and I've asked him, why didn't you talk about IAQ? Why didn't you offer this? And he said, well, because I wouldn't have it in my home. I don't need it in my home, so I'm not gonna talk to the customer about it. So how do you get over some of those hurdles when you're going into a company, and let's say it's a larger company and they've got 30, 40, 50 plus staff members. How do you try to craft that message to get everybody on board?
Well, there is a science and and a art to getting people committed to doing anything, right? So the science is this. Here's the science. The science is really to get people to find things that they believe in that are aligned with what you believe in, right? So this is called what we call pure motives. Pure motives mean that I'm not going to focus about selling people more things or making more money because that's not one of the values I believe in. As a result of the training, people will make 3 to 5 times more, no doubt about it. But if we focus on money, that's not going to be something that's going to be popular. Nobody is going to want to get your boss rich. But here's what people do want to do. The pure motives. What are pure motives? Well, the things that everybody can agree on. If I asked a service tech, do you believe that people, for the investment they make in the company, the money they give you, should have the most comfortable home possible? Yes. Do you believe that people should have the most reliable system that won't break down after you leave? Who's going to say no to that? Yeah, I believe in that. Then do you believe in the safety of your client to make sure that the home is safe and that the service that we do provides the best safety for each client and their family? Of course, I wouldn't live without that. And then how about the health of the family? Is that something you believe in, that we can prevent airborne illnesses and things like that? How would you feel about that? Well, yeah, we got to do everything for that. So could you live with yourself if we didn't provide the best quality of comfort, the best reliability, the best safety, the best health? And how about customer service? For the work that we do, should we be doing things for clients or should they be changing their own filters? Who should do the work? What does service mean? Service means that we do the work for you so the customer doesn't have to do it. So when we teach a customer how to change their own filters, we're giving them a job. When we teach the customer how we can change the filters twice a year with that IAQ system, then we're showing them how we do service. So if people don't believe in those 5 things, quality, reliability, safety, health, and customer service, then you probably got the wrong person on your team. You probably got somebody who shouldn't be in the service business. They probably should be doing something else like working in a factory. So these are the things I'm asking people to commit to when I first meet people. And here's what I found. Universally, can you imagine anybody who wouldn't commit to those 5 things, Jonathan?
No, not at all.
So those are so we got to say it's never going to go from like step A to step D. There's step A, which is getting the motivation. Make sure the motivation is right to do this job right. Why would you want to connect with people? Because it's better service if I know your family, so I can provide a more customized, relevant solution. Because I don't want to throw crap at the wall and hope it sticks. I want to make sure it's perfect for this family. So if I met your family, Jonathan, I get to know everybody and make a friendship, and then I'd learn about what people need. Like you need, Jonathan, because you run a busy podcast, let me change those filters twice a year for you while you focus on getting new guests. That's what I would tell you if I was selling you an air quality system.
Right.
I wouldn't focus on air quality. I'd focus on what air quality will do for you. Could be convenience. It could be saving time. It could be making your family healthier. But you're going to get a trigger from me that's going to be meaningful to you. And so that if I'm going to coach the guys, Jonathan, I wouldn't say, why didn't you quote IAQ? I'd say, do you believe in the health of the family? And they'd say, yes. Then why not the IAQ? Would that make it healthier? I wouldn't do it at my house. Yeah, but what about this family who's paying us? I'm not worried about your family because your family is second when you do service. The people you're serving, they are the people who go first. Everybody needs to understand this one thing, Jonathan. When we're serving our customers, that family we're working for is more important on that moment than our own family is. Because we're taking time from our family and giving it to this family, and this family is right now my 100% focus. And my wife could be calling me, my kids could be calling me, and I'm still going to stay with this call and make sure I finish it the right way. And then I'm going to call my family when I'm done with this call. So for the moment in time we're together with the family of our client, that family is number one. That's what we have to remember that.
Yeah, I think one thing you mentioned that I feel would be very powerful that I've never really thought of it this way is when you're trying to get a tech to be trained a certain way and talk about or be able to see the bigger picture of what could be offered, what did that customer say to us that we could provide more value or a service that would help them in some kind of way. And I've always looked at it as like, well, they won't offer it or mention it because they wouldn't have it in their own home, or they're not motivated by money necessarily. They're just kind of stuck in their way. But when you talked about like them as the technician, you mentioned something where it was kind of like they have all the training, like because most of those guys that refuse to offer certain things, but or how about even a system? Like they won't even mention trying to get a system replacement when it's say an 8 or 9 year old system because they pride themselves on being the best technician. They're going to fix that unit. But when you look at it and flip it and kind of put it back on them to say, you are a great technician, but a great technician is going to look at what is best for that particular customer, for the safety of their home, for the comfort levels of their home. It has nothing to do about you. You're a great technician. We know you can fix it. But you have to take yourself out of the picture and look at that customer, like you were saying. They should be your 100% priority, not you or your family. It should be them and their family.
Well, you know what's important about that? It's the greedy motive would be to work as fast as possible and get the hell out of here and just keep going on call after call after call. That means you're greedy. It means you're just accepting money for yourself to burn through calls while your boss and your company suffer. Your company has to apologize because you never offered this stuff before. And now the customer's wondering, we just had a guy out here. How come he didn't mention that to me? So the customer and the company are the quality control, but the greedy motive would be to move faster and not offer these things. The pure motive is to take your time, spend the time with the customer, make the options. And the hardest thing is to tell people you have to write down a premium, mid-range, and economy choice for every client. It's going to take time to do that. And so that's an investment that the company is going to make in every customer. Now, you can also hardwire this, Jonathan, by bringing in accountability. I said training, coaching, and accountability. So what is accountability? It means that there are companies right now where that when a guy goes out and does the premium, mid-range, economy options, the manager says, show me those options that you're making first before you show them to the customer. And then when the customer buys it, call me up so I can check with the customer to make sure they're happy during the call. So they don't like wait till people are done with the call. There are companies right now that are stopping technicians to make sure they do the job right. With the technology of today, we're blessed with so much technology that if we can inspect anything in the middle of a call, a service manager shouldn't be sitting back on his dead ass at his desk. He should be on Zoom watching all of his technicians. Show me that option. Show me that air quality. Show me the gas pressure. Show me the gauges. Let me see what you got there. He should be basically, with technology today, a service manager should be actively on everybody's call, making sure that they see what they're seeing and then advising people, hey, don't forget to mention, we could fix this or we can replace it. It isn't 20 years old. Give them the option. I'm going to listen in while you do it. So that's not something that is in the future. That choice will be taken away from service technicians. It'll be something that will be standard. What I'm teaching right now is the future today. In the future, you won't be your discretion whether you offer a system. Your service manager will tell you and look at that and say, look, it's a builder's model unit that's broken down 7 times in 7 years. We need to start talking about a option to fix it or another option to replace it. It's their choice, not your choice. So that accountability is something that is going to be very much a part of this industry. It's never going to go away. It's only going to get stronger from this point forward.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And I love what you were saying about the service managers today. And obviously you work with some companies that are doing this. I personally haven't seen it. And maybe some of my clients are doing it, but I haven't heard of it, where they're using, technology of today, Zoom or Google Meets or something, and watching the technician or advising the technician while he's out in the field. I think that level of accountability would be game changer, because whenever that's what's going to breed consistency. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with these companies is they may have some technicians that are really good at flipping leads or selling IAQ, but they don't have a whole team that is consistent with the way that they put the messaging out there, offer the services and products. Because there's no training, there's no consistency, or they'll have a trainer come in once, and then they're not doing any kind of residual and follow-up training to get that consistency built, because it's all about the culture, and you've got to get everyone on rowing the boat in the same direction. And so let me ask you, how important do you feel it is to make sure that when hiring a new employee, that those 5, what did you call those 5 things, Joe?
Pure motives.
Okay, so how important would you, like when you're working with a company, do you tell them that any new hires in the future, they need to be able to say yes to all 5 of these pure motives?
Yeah, totally. I mean, you can give people a job test and say, watch this video for 50 minutes before you join our company, because while you're applying for your job, watch this video, because this is what you're going to be doing over here. And so that's what we do for a living. That's why we're the fastest growing training company in the country. Here's why. We literally onboard and orient people from an entire company. So at like A1, we orient and onboard every single person in a 3-week process, watching 90 minutes of videos a day, checking in with their coach twice a week, and then the person graduates with a video and the pricing sheet, so they got that done. After that, we do weekly training to make sure people are doing batting practice every week to keep themselves sharp. And we also do a thing called eye care, which is every single day we are there to answer any questions, the problems you go through. People's problems are our opportunities. So training, onboarding, weekly training, and going in there, and then you can then coach. Now people have been trained and graduated. Now you can say, hey, remember what we trained you on? Let's get back to doing that. And then, so management is really not, it's dead. Management's dead. What is management? Looking at numbers and trying to fix the number. That's like going to a football game and blaming the scoreboard operator when your team's losing. You can't blame the scoreboard. You got to blame the players on the field who are not performing the job that they've been trained to do. So training people, orienting and onboarding, service that we provide for 3 weeks straight. We graduate people, we document it, we give them a certificate. People go up in front of the whole team and they play the video, and the whole team gives them a standing ovation, right? Mm-hmm. So accountability is something we teach from the day you start. It's not something that we introduce later. It's happening 90 minutes a day. You got to be there. You got to check in twice a week. You got to graduate in 3 weeks. It's like going to a school inside your school. So we provide that. That's our superpower, is doing it so companies don't have to create that whole university, the communication university on their own. We do that for people. That's our job.
Yeah, and I mean, and clearly y'all have a system in place that can be for any size company, because, for someone to think, well, we're so big, we could just create the university ourselves. I mean, I don't think that's always the right answer. I mean, me being in the marketing space, it's one of the biggest disasters I hear is when a company says they think they've gotten so big that we're just going to bring marketing in-house. And it's like, not that it can't be done, but to think that you're just going to go hire a couple people with a marketing degree and they're going to be able to do SEO and PPC and content and backlinks. Like, no one graduates with a marketing degree and knows how to hardly do any of the above. So to hear that, you do all of Tommy's stuff, and I think he said there are like 420 employees now, and obviously Tommy could try to create that concept himself, but he feels what you guys deliver and what you offer, there's no point in trying to do himself, right? Like you have found a method that apparently is getting through to his team and is helping him create that culture that he wants. I know in order for a company to be able to scale, right, they want I think any company, it could be in the home service space or whatever. I think in order to scale, I personally feel like the number one thing you have to do is you have to have the right people and the right processes in place. So, talk to me about processes. How important are they to you, what you teach, and to the companies you're working with? Like, what do you tell them about processes?
Well, the first thing I tell people is that when you join our program, you're getting a new operating system for your company. So we're not interested in whatever you were doing before. We're interested in implementing a system that works. Like we're like the New England Patriots, and whatever you're doing before might have won your own division championship, but we're going to win a Super Bowl with this way of doing it. And so we have the experience, the time, the focus, 24/7 to do this. Remember, a place like A1 Garage or any company, they're trying to buy garage doors, they're trying to get HR, they're trying to get marketing, they're trying to get the trucks purchased, all these things they're trying to do, and then we're going to fit this in. This is the most important part of the company. You can't just fit it in. It's got to be a primary purpose. So the important part of it is that it all starts with the orientation. If you're not going to kickstart people and say, here is the first video on the pure motives. Then we're going to do 3 weeks of training with 90 minutes a day on answering e-learning and LMS with videos. And then you're going to graduate. You're going to check in with a coach and you're going to graduate. Now, if you don't graduate, we're going to stay with you until you graduate. Now that's an orientation experience. I call it a customer service experience for internal customers. That if you don't have that third party verification, it's like saying that my team, it's like, imagine this, Jonathan. My team will check our own permits. We'll do our own inspections. We're not going to pull permits with the city. We're going to pull our own permits internally. Well, what would the city say when your standards aren't up to standard? Like the city is upgrading their codes every year. That's why third party integration like yours and mine is so important, because we're bringing in the new codes every year that we're learning. I'm learning from 9,500 other people what's working better this week, and I know what's working better now than what worked better last week. And you are too. You learn like, oh my God, here's a new keyword. Here's a new way of doing SEO that is working better, because you have other clients as a laboratory that this one company could never experience that laboratory just through themselves. Make sense? So all the things that you fail at and succeed at with the other companies you work with, those are things that the last client you bring on gets all that experience, right? And so
Yep.
and so does the current client. They learn from what doesn't work, but they learn what does work. And same with us too. It's like if you do it internally, I say you're eating your own disease, because you need to have a third-party verification that your guys are graduating, as opposed to the temptation of getting them in the truck and not getting them fully trained at that point. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes complete sense. So, your processes that you put in place, I completely agree that y'all have a proven system that you know works. Do you get a lot of pushback on, like, I don't know, the Prophet, Marcus Lemonis? I don't know if you're a fan of that show, but I watch it all the time, and you see that even though these business owners clearly know that this guy is what they're missing, not only do they need his money, they need his processes and what he brings to the table, but they still give pushback on, well, this is the way we do it, or they just don't want to bend on certain parts because they're so stuck in their ways. How hard is that for you to get some of these owners to completely get on board with all of your processes? Like you said, they're getting a new operating system. So it's like, whatever the way you were doing it yesterday, today's going to be a different day. How hard is that?
Well, it's not hard when you have a lot of other people who are succeeding with it, right? So the number one reason people are committed when they start with us is because they've been referred to us by somebody else. Like there's nobody who just join. Like it would be dangerous to join us from out of the blue without hearing about us. But usually it's because people met at a trade meeting or at a best practice group and they said, you got to join this guy because it's going to make it work for you guys. Everything they're teaching us here is good, but what he teaches there is better, right? So without the endorsement of my current clients, most likely I wouldn't have the trust from somebody to refurbish their entire operating system because it's personal and customized. The way we give prices, the way we communicate to people is something that's very personal. So for me to take that over from somebody or to help you with that, you got to have the endorsement from other people, just like you get, Jonathan. Like, oh, here's a guy you got to hire for SEO. It has to. It comes down to that because probably by the time people call you or me, they're already sold, right? They know
No,
they need
you're
they know they need help, and they're like, "This is the guy to help me." I put myself in your hands. Now there are some people that I can see. I tell people, maybe you shouldn't join us because I'm going to ask a lot from you in terms of time, in terms of focus, and in terms of changing things. If you're not prepared for that change, I prefer not to take you on as a client. And you probably have said that same thing, I'm pretty sure, right?
I have. I've looked at people sometimes when we're going through our ways of doing it, and they're like, "Oh, we do that," and I'm like, I've looked at people like, "What are we doing on this call?" Because you reached out to us for a reason, and clearly, just because you're doing it doesn't mean that it's being done right. There's multiple ways to do things, and at the end of the day, it's you just have to find the people that are open to change, and and those are the people I want to work with, and those are the people that you want to work with, that understand that there's a problem, but and we got to be respectful. Like, it's their baby, right? Like, that business is their baby, so we got to come across as we're the experts in this, in this space, and we're going to take care of your baby. More importantly, the way I describe it is, when you join our family, my marketing company's family, the Cornerstone family, that you're an extension. We're an extension of your team. Like, you are part of the family.
Yeah.
Our office may be in Dallas, but we want you to feel like you've got a building out back behind you, and that's where our team is located, because you have to make them feel that they're part of something bigger. They're not just a vendor of yours. It's just not another relationship, right?
I tell people I just got off the call just now before this. I said, think of it as we're in your office. We just don't take up real estate.
There you go.
That's how
right.
it is. And I tell people, and your business and my business are almost identical. The difference is you are selling the company before they ring the doorbell, and I am selling the company after they ring the doorbell. Does that make sense?
That's right.
So
Absolutely.
the two things together are a perfect fit, right? It's
Yeah.
like you're promising something that we're going to deliver, and then I make sure people deliver that promise when they're in the home, and that's really the key thing we do. And so we want the customer experience, and when the experience is good, think of all the 5-star reviews and testimonials we're giving back to you, the marketing company, to be able to say, yes, it's a higher investment, but you're going to get this job taken care of, and you're going to have personal, customized experience for you and your family. And you can even put it in the marketing. Ask us about our Pure Motive service. And like, what is that? That's where we focus on the quality and reliability of your comfort, the safety and health of your family. We give you customized, relevant, premium, mid-range economy solutions, and we always be honest even when it's not popular. These are these pure motives we believe in. We're going to be a window to show you possibilities and not a door that stands in. These are all marketing terms that
Absolutely.
you can use right in the marketing. So the sales once you go in the door and the sales before you hit the door, they should be aligned together. I think there should be more of a cohesive effort to make sure that we're promising the stuff we're delivering. So I think somebody like you should learn what we're delivering so you can more easily promise it better. It'd be easier to promise a marketing promise if you know what the team was trying to deliver. Like if you said, we always give options, not ultimatums, that would be a marketing term. And it's something we also do. So I think there can't be two different people. It can't be like we promise this, but we do this. It's got to be we promise this and we do this. It's all together. And when they're separate, that's when the company has problems. That's when we're not doing what we're promising the marketing, but we're not doing the sales the same way we're promising it. Does that make sense, sir, Jonathan?
No, it does. It makes complete sense. And it sounds like maybe you're inviting me to, get my to get my degree from Uncle Joe's Academy. So
you should, because this way you know what people are, what your clients are trying to do out there. And it is all these like golden talking points would be like, holy shit, that's gold. I should be putting that in their website. That's a section in the website we should have there about this part, right? And what is Pure Motives? Ask us about our Pure Motive service. And then it's different. That's like, wow, that's a different message. What the hell is that? And they have to at least look into it. It's like, that's what I want, is somebody who's like that. Your ability to articulate that before you get to the house, and then during the call, and then even after the call is over, that is the key to your success. Really, that's really it. Make
I
sense?
love it. I love it. You keep talking about customization for each of your customers, and you mentioned pricing, customizing, I guess, pricing. Talk to me about the science of pricing.
hmm Well, the science of pricing, we actually have a course on it. We at Service MVP, we just now have scaled a new product, a new service, which is a very basic course. $37 it costs a month if you buy it for a whole year up front, and then $10 per user if you want to get your team going on something like this. We go over the science of pricing. Basically, here's what it comes down to. If you give people one choice, you're going to have a very low closing rate because you're giving them an ultimatum. Here's how we have to fix it. Now, if you give them three choices, let's do an economy way, mid-range, and a premium way. I start with the economy first. You're going to get 40% of the people are going to upgrade to the mid-range or premium way. Let's say you have a cartridge on a faucet. The cartridge is the bottom option. The basic faucet is the middle option, and a premium faucet is the top. You're going to have 40% of people are going to upgrade simply because you offered them. Now, if you start at the premium and work your way down, three choices: premium, mid-range, and economy. Start with the best way to fix it is the premium faucet. Then you go to the basic faucet and then the cartridge. You'll get 80% of the people upgrading if you did that. Now, if you offer six choices, two premium, two mid-range, and two economy options, and you start by presenting the option from the top down, 89% of the people will upgrade to the mid-range or premium options, and that will make your revenue basically 3 to 5 times higher than it was before, and it will be 99% customer satisfaction because the customer had all the choices, because you gave people the service of choosing from the way where we can guarantee this for 5 years with a 5-year warranty and service plan. All the consumables that come with it are included. The bottom option is just fix the problem we have right now. The ones in the middle are a very professional option that renovate the whole area by itself. So, you got to they got to be different. They can't be six options that are the same. This one's clearly better service, better warranty, more inclusive. The middle option, less warranty, less service, and still very professional. And the bottom option, just a Band-Aid, just to get it fixed.
Yeah, makes complete sense. And I know there is a science there behind it that backs all that up. That people are going to navigate to a certain place. They don't want to go to the highest, but they also don't want to be the cheapest. So,
Yeah, the science of it is called tiered pricing. And
okay,
if you go to there's a great author, Dan Ariely, who is a great author on this subject, has done a great amount of research on it. He's a science of consumer behaviors and things like that.
okay.
There's billions of dollars that is spent on consumer behaviors, so that a company can just put a mermaid on top of a sign and sell 5 million a year at a franchise with no marketing at all and no SEO. They just freaking open a sign,
Hmm.
and $5 million a year comes through that place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, I mean, we've talked about some great things. We've talked about pricing. We've talked about accountability. The 5 pure motives, I think, is absolute genius. What would you say? We're about to wrap up. So, what would you tell any of our listeners today that are on the fence? They've been thinking about hiring a training and coaching company to help take their business to whatever the next level looks like for them, right? What would you tell them if they are, they're overthinking it, or they're trying to make sure that they find the right company? What would you tell them to say 100% the right decision is to get coaching and training in your organization? And then what would you tell them on why Service MVP?
Well, I think there's a lot of number one thing everybody can do to be successful is get out of your own little area and go out and meet other people. Go meet other companies, right? So find people. The funny thing about contractors, they are the most generous people in the planet. They will give anything to other people who are non-competitors to teach them and show them how to be successful. So if you were to dial up a place like Tommy Mello's, I'm going to come and visit your place. I'm going to go to Ben Davis from Express Plumbing up in Nampa, Idaho. I'm going to go to Travis Smith up in Portland, Oregon. You ask these people, can I stop by and have a visit? They'll say yes. And I would say then ask them what has been successful for them. And all the companies we work with, we're undefeated in creating value. So I am confident that if you talk to our clients, that is my best. We have no salespeople because our clients are the salespeople. I'm not going to telemarket you or cold call you. You got to be sold before you walk into our door, pretty much, that you need this, right? Uh, Unfortunately, my credibility of telling people how great I am is not going to be very well received. It only works for Donald Trump to do that, not for me. Not for me. So only he can say how great he is. Myself, I let my clients do the talking for me, and if they do that talking, just like you get hired, when somebody says you're doing a great job, then it goes on to the next person. Does that make sense? So I'd say get out of your little pocket and go meet other people, and then learn what they're doing, and all roads lead here. That's all I can tell you. Make sense?
It does. And I'll say, as we're closing this out, I'll say that great minds think alike, because that's pretty much how Tommy just summed up the ending of our recording. Was basically gave the advice to get out, travel to other states, go into other businesses, and meet people that are smarter than you, that are willing to open up their mind, their failures, their successes, and learn from it. And so I think that's great advice. So Uncle Joe, I appreciate you coming onto the show. I appreciate our new friendship, because you already said we're friends now, and I want to accept it. I will tell you, I'm going to accept a friendship. So,
yay! I don't have to work that hard. I have to work. Listen, you have it no matter what, but that's okay. And you can keep it for forever too if you want to. You don't have to ever give it up. And thanks a lot, Jonathan. Listen. Let me just say how honored I am that you gave me this audience, and I definitely don't take that lightly. And I try to give you my best every time. I can tell you this: whenever people do hire me, they're always gonna feel like they owe me something. They're never gonna feel like I still owe them something. Let's put it that way.
I love it. It does. Well, I appreciate it, and I'll be in touch with you, because I would like to go through your training and fully understand it. And I feel like I know for a fact I'll be able to take some things from that training and be able to implement it with our team to make our team better. So I do appreciate you coming on.
My pleasure, Jonathan. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great one.
Thank you.